You drift sideways walking across a flat parking lot. No ice, no uneven ground, just a perfectly flat surface. And you drift. Or you stand up from your chair and your hand shoots out for the wall before you even decide to reach for it. Or you're walking down your own hallway, a hallway you've crossed 10,000 times, and your shoulder catches the doorframe. You didn't trip. Nothing was there. You just missed. Here's what that moment actually means. That quiet drift you've probably never mentioned to anyone. That is one of the first signals your body sends before something far more serious gets the chance to develop. Not the last warning, the first. And the window between that first signal and a real fall, a hospitalization, a loss of independence, that is exactly where everything can still be changed. I'm going to show you what's driving this, why it shows up in your walking before anywhere else, and what you can do starting today, at home, no equipment, to genuinely address the root cause, not manage it, fix it. My name is Dr. Grayson. Over 2 decades in clinical practice, working almost exclusively with adults over 60, balance disorders, early neurological symptoms, mobility problems other doctors had labeled as inevitable aging. What I do differently is find the upstream cause, the actual mechanism behind the symptoms, not just the symptoms themselves. I've seen one pattern repeat so consistently that I can almost map a patient's full picture before they finish their first sentence. They come in talking about their walking. They leave understanding something about their brain they were never told. That's what the next few minutes are for. Before we go further, one question. Answer it in the comments right now. Have you ever caught yourself drifting when you walk or reaching for a wall when you stand and just never told anyone? Not your doctor, not your spouse? Just kept it to yourself? Yes or no? Down below. Your answer shapes every video I make for this community. Here's something about walking most people have genuinely never considered. Walking is not stable. It only looks that way from the outside. Biomechanically, meaning what your body is actually doing, every single step you take is a controlled fall. Your weight tips forward past your center of balance. Your opposite leg swings forward just in time to catch you. A fall and a catch, every step, hundreds of times on a short walk to the mailbox. The timing of that catch is everything. Off by a fraction, you stumble. Consistently off, you drift. Degraded enough, you fall. The structure managing that timing with millisecond precision on every single step is not your legs, not your hips, not your core. It's a region at the base of your skull called the cerebellum. Every fraction of a second you're upright, your cerebellum receives signals from your muscles, your joints, your inner ear, and your eyes simultaneously and fires tiny, continuous corrections to keep you balanced and moving straight. When it runs at full capacity, you walk down the hallway without a single conscious thought. When it starts running below capacity, your body sends you signals. A drift, a shoulder catching a door frame, a hand reaching for a counter that wasn't necessary 2 years ago. Those are not leg signals. Those are brain signals. I had a patient, a 67-year-old retired school teacher from outside Phoenix, someone who'd taught the same 5th grade class for 31 years and remembered every child's name. She came in because she'd caught the edge of her kitchen counter 3 times in 2 weeks. Her previous doctor checked her ears, found nothing, suggested new glasses. When I went through her full daily picture, what came out was something I recognized immediately. She was losing words mid-sentence, completely spent by early afternoon regardless of how well she'd slept. She'd quietly stopped offering to drive at night because tracking oncoming headlights had become harder than it used to be. She thought those were 3 separate problems arriving with age. They weren't 3 problems. They were 1. And the walking was just the first place it showed up. This connection is documented. Research published in the journal Stroke by Delat and colleagues found that gait impairment in older adults is measurably associated with reduced cerebral blood flow to key brain regions, reductions that often don't appear dramatic enough on imaging to trigger a formal diagnosis, but show up clearly in how a person moves. Your scan can look unremarkable. Your doctor can find nothing acute. And this can still be actively happening. Quick self-check right now. Stand up, cross your arms over your chest, close your eyes, and hold still for 30 seconds. A small, gentle sway is normal, but if you consistently pull toward one side or have to open your eyes to catch yourself, your cerebellum is telling you its inputs are degraded. Note which direction. It matters. Now, if the cerebellum is the problem, what is actually reducing its blood supply? The answer involves an anatomical fact about your neck that almost nobody outside a specialty clinic ever explains. Once you see it, everything clicks. two arteries supply blood to the back of your brain, including the cerebellum. They are called the vertebral arteries, and what makes them unlike almost any other major vessel in your body is where they travel. They don't run alongside your spine, they run through it. Think of a garden hose threaded through a stack of rings, rings aligned and moving freely. Water flows. Rings shifted or surrounded by chronic muscular tension. The hose gets compressed, not cut off, just narrowed. A narrowed hose sustained day after day means the cerebellum runs on consistently less than it needs. Each vertebra in your neck has a small bony channel on either side, and the vertebral arteries travel through those channels, one vertebra at a time, all the way up to the base of your skull, where they merge into the primary blood supply for your cerebellum, brainstem, and entire posterior brain. This is the vertebro-basilar circulation, the most structurally exposed major circulation in the human body, threaded through bone, directly affected by the alignment and tension of every vertebra it passes through. Now here's the part most people never hear. Every inch your head drifts forward of its natural position adds approximately 10 pounds of effective load on your cervical spine. That is not a rough estimate. It comes from published research by spine surgeon Dr. Kenneth Hansraj, documented in Surgical Technology International in 2014, with a PubMed record. Most adults over 60, from decades of reading, desk work, and looking down at phones and tablets, carry their heads 2 to 3 inches forward of where they should sit. That is 20 to 30 extra pounds of chronic compressive load on the exact segment of your spine those arteries travel through, every hour, every day, for years. This is not about posture being attractive. This is posture directly compressing the blood supply to your balance center. That forward head position has been shown to decrease blood flow through the vertebral artery, documented in peer-reviewed imaging research. A 2024 study published in Healthcare measured changes in brain function and cerebrovascular response in subjects with forward head posture who used screens more than 6 hours daily. The effect was measurable. And that population description fits a very large portion of today's seniors. I think about a 71-year-old retired accountant who came to me after a neurologist had cleared him of anything acute, resigned, convinced it was simply aging. What we found was a forward head position of nearly 3 inches and significant restriction at the base of his neck and upper back. We worked on both. 10 weeks in, his wife told me he seemed more present in conversation, her words. He told me it felt like someone had been slowly dimming the lights in a room he lived in, so gradually he hadn't noticed, until they came back up. Here is your immediate take-home. Stand with your back against a flat wall. Heels, hips, upper back, and the back of your head, all touching the wall simultaneously. No forcing. If your head cannot reach the wall comfortably, that gap is a physical measurement of how far forward it has migrated. Hold that position 60 seconds 3 times a day. Not as a posture exercise. As a circulation exercise, you are reopening the channel those arteries travel through. Releasing the restriction is half the equation. The cerebellum itself needs to be actively retrained, and the research on what works best for that, something called dual task training, is stronger than almost anything else in the balance rehabilitation literature. The cerebellum is not a fixed, finished structure. It is one of the most adaptable regions in the human brain. Challenge it consistently, at or just beyond its current capacity, and it rewires. Pathways that have gone quiet start firing again. New connections form. This is neuroplasticity, and the cerebellum responds to it at any age. But here is where generic balance advice fails completely. Standing on one foot, slow marching at a comfortable pace. These feel productive. They aren't wrong, but they do not create enough demand to force real cerebellar adaptation. What does is dual task conditions, managing a physical challenge and a cognitive challenge simultaneously. That combined demand is what drives rewiring. Single task training doesn't generate enough load to trigger it. Here is what this looks like in your home. Stand feet shoulder width apart. March in place. Slow, deliberate, each knee lifting with intention. While marching, count backward from 100 by threes. Out loud. 100, 97, 94. Keep marching. Don't let the numbers slow your steps. Don't let the steps break your count. Hold both at once. It will feel awkward, nearly impossible at first. Good. That awkwardness is your cerebellum at the exact edge of its current wiring. Every day you do this, that edge expands. A randomized controlled trial by Wollison and colleagues published in Frontiers in Aging Neuroscience found that balance training with simultaneous dual-task cognitive demands produced significantly greater improvements in gait performance compared to single-task training alone, with meaningful reductions in fall-related risk. Peer-reviewed, replicated, real. I had a patient, 73-year-old woman, 2 minor falls in 4 months, neither serious, but fear was already shrinking her life faster than the falls themselves. Avoiding uneven ground, turning down walks with friends, gripping railings on stairs she'd used effortlessly her whole life. 8 weeks of daily dual-task training combined with the cervical work. She called my office to say she'd walked her neighborhood loop 1.5 miles without holding her husband's arm for the first time in over a year. I've done this work for 20 years. That call still stays with me. Start with 5 minutes daily. Count backward by 3s while marching, or alternate naming a fruit, then a country, back and forth. Any cognitive layer running alongside the movement works. Within 2 weeks, most people find their walking feels more automatic, less effortful. That ease is a real, measurable neurological change, and you will feel it before you can explain it. One more piece before we finish, something almost no balance content covers, a nerve most people have heard about in entirely the wrong context, and its connection to your balance system makes the whole picture finally complete. Running near the vertebral arteries through the structures of your neck is a system that quietly influences your balance and almost never comes up in these conversations. The vagus nerve, not for digestion, not for stress, for this. The vagus nerve has documented anatomical connections to the vestibular system, the brainstem pathway telling your brain where your body is in space. Research from the early 1990s, confirmed repeatedly since, established that vestibular nuclei in the brainstem project directly to the dorsal motor nucleus of the vagus nerve. These two systems communicate constantly. When one is dysregulated, the other is affected. Published peer-reviewed work on vagus nerve stimulation has shown improvements in vestibular symptoms including dizziness and postural instability. Clinical trials are currently active examining this specifically for balance disorders in elderly patients. The connection is real and the research is ongoing. When your neck is in chronic tension, compressing everything in that region, the vagal pathway is affected alongside the arterial one. And that contributes to what my patients describe but struggle to name. That floating sensation when standing up fast, the room taking a half-second too long to settle after a turn, the inner unsteadiness that doesn't match any description of dizziness they've read. 60 seconds every morning before your feet touch the floor. Inhale through your nose for 4 counts. Exhale, slowly, fully, for 7. The extended exhale activates the parasympathetic branch of the vagus nerve. This is established autonomic nervous system science. It reduces muscular tension through the cervical region and supports vestibular vagal coherence. Pair that with the wall reset and daily dual task marching, and you are addressing the entire system. Arterial compression, cerebellar training, vagal pathway, one complete protocol. Everything starts today. Here is what we covered. Your cerebellum manages every step with millisecond precision. When vertebral arteries, compressed by years of cervical restriction and forward head posture, deliver less blood, your balance degrades, quietly, gradually, until your shoulder catches a doorframe and you don't mention it to anyone. Now you know what's happening, and you know what to do. Wall reset, 60 seconds, 3 times daily. Dual task marching, 5 minutes every day, no exceptions. Extended exhale breathing, 60 seconds each morning. 3 things, all grounded in real science, all starting today. You are not at the mercy of this. The brain you have right now, at 65, at 72, at 78, is still capable of rewiring, recovering, and restoring what has quietly slipped, but only with consistent targeted input. Every day, not occasionally. You have spent your whole life building things that required that exact kind of discipline. This is no different, and what it gives back is worth everything. The ability to move through your own life freely, confidently, on your own terms. Don't write those years off, not when the path forward is this clear. If today gave you a real explanation for what your body has been trying to tell you, hit that like button right now. It tells me this content is reaching the people who need it most. Not subscribed yet? I'd do it now. This channel exists for one reason: clinical information that changes outcomes in plain language without the runaround. Drop your age in the comments and tell me which symptom hit closest to home today. The walking drift? The afternoon crash? The word that vanishes mid-sentence? The room that won't settle? I read every comment. Your answers build every video I make next. If someone you love has been quietly filing this under just getting older, share this with them today. You may be giving them the explanation they've been waiting for without knowing it. I'm Dr. Grayson. Take care of yourself. See you in the next one.